right, here's what I want you to do before you sit down. First of all, 2 more Sundays until we make this move into the new facility. 2 more Sundays. So I want to make sure you understand this and you remember it. So I want you to find 5 people before you sit down. I want you to look them in the eyes, tell them you're glad to see them, and just say 2 more weeks. 2 more weeks. What you do, you can have a seat. All right. We're glad that you're here. Welcome to Freedom. Welcome to the 10 o'clock. And it's exciting times. Like I said, like you said it and I said it. So you should remember it. 2 more Sundays and we're making the shift. You gotta be careful when you say that word with a microphone in your hand. The shift over to the other building. And that means that next Sunday, remember this, is Memorial Day weekend, and it is online only because we got a lot of stuff that we still have to do before then. And it is gonna be really, really good. I'm filming that message tomorrow, I believe. And we're gonna have some fun with that one as well. But people have been asking me, they're like, man, are you excited? Are you nervous? And my answer has been the same the whole entire time. And the answer is yes. That's the answer. Which one? Yes, both. That's been the way that it always is, right? Like that's the way that it is in life. It's the way that it is in your relationship with God. It's the way that it is when you're doing something like this as well. It's just, part of your journey with Jesus is like excitement and a little bit of nervousness, because in your journey with God, you're constantly taking steps of faith, and you're constantly moving forward, and you're constantly on the move, and you're never standing still, and you're always trying to progress just a little bit, going places that you've never been before, and doing things that you've never done, and taking steps that you've never taken. And it is exciting, but it also can be a little bit nerve-wracking. That's how it was when we moved here. 18 years ago, we moved here. God told us while we were in a town called Millington, which is like, I usually say Memphis because people know where Memphis is, but nobody knows where Millington is, because 2 different highways, this is not an exaggeration, I'm not trying to be funny, 2 different highways dead end, and that's where Millington is. It is actually impossible to go to Millington by accident. You have to be on your way on purpose, because you just can't, you don't pass through. Nobody has ever said, I was just passing through and I saw Millington, because you can't pass through, because 2 different highways dead end. It's the strangest town. There was took 45 minutes to get to the mall. It was forever away. We're in the middle of nowhere. We had one restaurant at first. It was called Perkins. And it was a breakfast restaurant that tried to do lunch and dinner also, because there was no other restaurants. I remember they built a Chili's, and Todd and I, we went to Chili's every day for like 8 days in a row, because we were so excited to have a Chili's. We just wanted to go somewhere besides Perkins. And it was a great day, the day Chili's came to town. And then right about the time that Chili's came, God said to leave. And I don't know what the deal was, but it is what it is. And he said to go to Ackworth, Georgia is what it felt like he was saying. And so we did, packed up our stuff, and we moved here in July or June. I don't remember if it was June or July. I can't remember for some reason, but June or July of 2007. And we said we were going to start a church for people who didn't go to church. We were starting a steakhouse for vegetarians. And that's what it is we were doing. And it's a terrible business model, by the way. But we felt like that's what God had asked us to do. And I'll show you where our church started. Let me show you a picture. This was where it all started. Some of you that have been around for a long time, you've heard me tell the story about how we felt like God was going to change the world. And then I would have these launch meetings, and there'd be 5 people there. And you've heard me tell the story about how I would go to the 3rd story window and feel like I was getting ready to jump out, because I'm like, how are we going to change the world with 5 people when I'm one of them and Devin is the other? And so that's where it all started, on the road formerly known as Glade. That's where that house was. Now it's called the Gateway to Alatoona. It used to be Glade Road. Now it is the Gateway to Alatoona. That's a hilarious name for a road. But anyway, that's where it was. It's crazy. I still own that house. I haven't been in it in 10 years, but I still do own that thing. And we were excited and we were nervous. I was like, what was the point of this? Why am I showing you this? Because I was excited and nervous. And then we were trying to find a location to move to, and there was hardly anywhere to go. And so we went to like what might have been one of the worst locations. Matter of fact, I go to the gym in the morning and I get on a treadmill with this guy, and he's awesome, but he talks a lot. And when we first met him, my very first interaction with him, um, we were walking by, and I was with a pastor friend of mine, and he introduced us to this person. And he said, the pastor said that these guys are getting ready to start a church. You remember this, Todd? He said that we were getting ready to start a church, and the guy said, where are you starting it at? And we said, North Metro Tech. And this guy had like mustard and ketchup all over his shirt. I don't know what he was doing, but he looks up from his computer and he goes, that's where churches go to die. That's what he said. And I'm like, I hate this guy. But I ended up liking him. He's pretty lovable. But anyway, let me show you a picture, North Metro Tech. This is like, I think this is the second series that we ever did over there, set up, tear down every single week. And we were excited and nervous about that as well. And then we went to Barber Middle School, which was great. And the problem was it was on the end of a dead-end road. And so nobody knew where it was. One of my memories of that school was that they wouldn't let us control the AC units. And so it was always hotter than we wanted it to be. Y'all know how I am. I want it to be cold. And so what we would do was we would tape a heating pad to the thing so that we could always trick it and make it feel like it was hotter than it was so that the air would always stay on. And it worked for years. Like, it worked for years. And then one day the facility guy was like, why is the AC unit reading 248 degrees? You know, something like that. And we got in trouble for that. I didn't. Todd got in trouble, but it was pretty hilarious. I'm glad we did that, though. It was great. And I'll show you that building as well. When we moved from Barber, then we came over here. And that was the building at first, up there at the top. And I think the city was so happy that we bought that building. You know, that used to be a bar back in the day. And it's called the Nashville Sound. And the bar was over there. That's why those people still sit over there, reminiscing. And the bar was over there. Hank Williams Jr. played here, which old school country people will appreciate that. They said cops used to sit right up there and right down there because everybody that left here was drunk as could be. And so we're like, this is a perfect place to start a church. Let's do it. And you can see the building at the bottom was when we first built it. Then we added on a little bit. And then now, obviously, we're doing what it is we're doing. And I feel like I've learned a ton. But a couple things that I've definitely learned. Number one, God is so faithful. God is so faithful. He's been faithful to us as a church. He's been faithful to us as individuals. I bet he's been faithful to you. Has God been faithful to you? I bet he's been so faithful. Matter of fact, like if you are over the age of about 8, you probably have an awareness of the fact that at some point in your life, God has just been so faithful to get you where you are. You might not be where you want to be, but you're not who you used to be either. And think about all the things that God has got you through, all the times God has carried you, all the times God has picked you up, all the times where, if you ever recognize, you know, sometimes people like to blame everybody else for everything in their life. I am of the opinion that 80% of the difficult things that I've gone through in my life are my own fault. And that's probably true for you, although they do say 77% of statistics are made up on the spot. But I do think that about 80% of the stuff that I've been through, some of you will get that joke later, that about 80% of what it is that we go through, God has just looked down at us and been like, you are my child, and I love you so much. And God was faithful, though, wasn't he? Even when you tripped and fell, even when it was your own clumsiness, even when it was your own fault, God has always been so faithful. The second thing is that this is true. The other one's true too, but this one's true as I looked at it again. God often gives you the what before he gives you the how. He often gives you the what before he gives you the how. The problem with that is that we like details. I do. I like to know, if I'm going somewhere, I want to know how I'm getting there. If I'm doing something, I want to know what's the outcome going to be. If I'm trying something, if I'm trying a new, like, if if I'm trying a new workout program, I am putting that thing into ChatGPT. I did this like 6 weeks ago. I decided I was gonna start a new workout program because I felt like I was getting fat again. And because I used to be kind of fat, and then I got in good shape, and then I took my foot off the gas and got a little bit fat again, and I decided I'm not doing this again. It's not a thing. And so you know what I did? I took a picture of myself in the shower and had some clothes on. And I put it in ChatGPT and I said, if I do this, this, and this, what will I look like in 12 weeks? And it showed me. And I was like, dang, for real? Like, if I'm gonna look like that, y'all need to do this today. I'm telling you, it will give you motivation. You will be like, for real, I'm gonna look like that? I literally called it a liar. I said, that is not true. And it came back and it said, it is true. You will be able to do this with dedication. And I'm like, I am dedicated. I have the picture saved on my phone. I do. I'm getting excited just thinking about it. But I wish that that's how everything was. Like when God said, take a step of faith, I wish that I could just put it into ChatGPT and ask for what's the outcome gonna look like 6 weeks from now? What's it gonna look like 12 weeks from now? What's gonna happen if I do what you're telling me to do, which I'm gonna do because I wanna be obedient to what God says, because he has been faithful. But it would be easier, I feel like, if I knew what the outcome was going to be all along the way. But that's just typically not the way that God works. Like sometimes God says you need to apologize to somebody and you don't really want to because you don't know how they're gonna respond. Their response is not up to you. Their response is honestly of no matter to you. What you are required to do is whatever it is that God says for you to do, regardless of what the outcome is. God may tell you to apologize to somebody. They might not even accept your apology. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't have sought their forgiveness. Because the goal is just to obey God. The goal is not always for every outcome to be the way that you want it to be. Sometimes it's just to trust that God is faithful regardless of what the outcome is. It's true like when you go to invite somebody to church, you're gonna invite somebody to the new building and the launch of that and all that stuff. You're like, I would invite everybody if I knew they would say yes. It doesn't matter if they say yes. That's not your responsibility. Our responsibility is just to do what it is that God's told us to do. You ever felt like you were supposed to give a bigger tip to a waiter or to a waitress, and then you start asking yourself these funny questions. You're like, I wonder if that was God or the devil. The devil has never told you to give a bigger tip to the waiter. That's not the devil, that's the Lord. Some of the waitresses, you should have said, amen. That's what you should have said right there. But God is faithful. And he does give you the what long before he gives you the how. Joshua chapter 3, verse 5 is where we'll start. It's a cool story because, and when I say story, it's not made up. This is like a real deal thing that happened. Remember, before Joshua took over, there was a guy named Moses. Moses was the legendary leader. Then Moses died. Joshua had to finish the job. Joshua had to get them from where they were into the land of Canaan, otherwise known as the promised land. It called it the promised land because it was the land that God had promised them. And Joshua had taken over, and it says in verse 5, then Joshua told the people, purify yourselves, for tomorrow the Lord will do great wonders among you. In other words, position yourself for what God is getting ready to do. The priests will carry the ark of the Lord. Talking about the ark of the covenant. The priests will carry the ark of the Lord, the ark of the covenant, the Lord of all the earth. And as soon as their feet, watch this, as soon as their feet touch the water, the flow of water will be cut off upstream. Say upstream. And the river will stand up like a wall. Now, this was the second time in Israel's journey where they were in a situation where they had to cross a body of water. One was with Joshua, the one I'm telling you about now. The other one was with Moses, the one who I mentioned just a moment ago. Now, here was the difference, though, because when Moses had the people cross the Red Sea, Joshua had to cross the Jordan River. But when Moses had to cross the Red Sea, it was different. Moses walks up, he has this big old stick. They called them staffs back then. They would walk out, Moses did, he lifted up the staff up into the air, and right in front of their eyes, the water backs up. People are like, dang. I guess that's what, I wasn't there, but I'm imagining that's what I would have said. And then all the people, they just walk across on dry ground, which that's like a second part of this. It's like miracle 1B. Because have you ever been on ground that was previously flooded? All of us, it's not usually dry whenever the water stops. They walked across on dry ground all the way through. Joshua's turn. It's not the Red Sea, it's the Jordan River. And when Joshua did it, he didn't have a staff. He didn't have anything like that. With them, the people, they actually had to get wet in order for the miracle to take place. With Moses, everybody stayed dry. With Joshua, it was a different story. Moses raised a staff. Joshua said, you have to get into the water. Now, you know how people are because you're people. You know they're like, that's not the way we did it last time. You know, people were like, the Bible says the last shall be first, so I'm going to the back of the line. I want to see what happens for the people at the front of the line. If they're going to walk out into the middle of a river, I'll go to the back and I'll see what happens with them, and then I will follow the lead of them. I'm just trying to live a biblical life. You shall go first. People were saying stuff like, I wish Moses was still here. I wish Moses was still alive. You remember that stick Moses had? He would raise that thing up into the air. We walked across on dry ground. God forgot to give Joshua a stick. Walk across this. I don't even know how to swim. That's what some of you would be saying. You'd be like, I don't know how to swim, Joshua. What happens if this thing doesn't work? I think God wanted to show Joshua that he was going to be with Joshua just like he was with Moses. The thing we have to remember is that steps of faith in our journey never get smaller. They almost always get larger. In other words, what it is that God had you do in the past, the steps of faith and obedience that God has asked you to take, when you took them, it built your faith enough to be willing to take the next step the next time he asked. Because we start to remember God was faithful last time. God got me through it last time. God picked me up last time. God came through last time. And then what we remember gives us some fuel to propel us forward in our journey. He wanted them to see this. He wanted them to experience it. But so many times what people end up doing is we never get started because we don't know the details and we're afraid that we won't have enough faith to finish. God doesn't say you need to have enough faith to finish. He just says you need to have enough faith to take the next step. That's why he says, my word is a lamp unto your feet and a light unto your path. He doesn't light up the entire journey. He just shows you enough light so that you can see where your next step is going to land. That's what he was doing with Joshua. That's what he was doing not only with Joshua, see what he was doing with the entire nation, because he needed them to see everybody wants to be part of a movement. But movements require movement. You can't just stand still and expect movements to take place. In order for a movement of God to happen, whether it's corporately as a church or individually in your own life, in order for movements to happen, there has to be movements of faith in our own individual journey. And so God says, I want you to move. It's going to look different than it did last time because you should have more faith than you did last time because you were there last time when it occurred. So you should build on what happened in the past to be able to propel you into the future. Verse 15, it was the harvest season and the Jordan River was overflowing its banks. Now watch this. But as soon as the feet of the priests who were carrying the ark touched the water at the river's edge, the water above that point, in your mind, you're thinking, okay, it happened just like last time. But watch what happens. The water above that point began backing up. And then it says these next words, a great distance away, at a town called Adam, which is near Zarethan. The water was parting, but the people couldn't see it. I was curious, so I looked up the distance between the two places. The distance between where they were crossing and where the water was starting to back up. 15 to 20 miles away was where the water began to back up. So then I was like, my next question, I don't know what your next question was. My next question was, how long, because I don't know, how long does it take the water to go 15 miles? How long would it have taken for this entire thing to transpire? Because once the people start walking and start wading into the water, how long would it have taken for them to see any visible sign of a miracle transpiring? It says somewhere between 3 and 5 hours. So imagine Joshua, you're there, and Joshua's the leader. You were there last time when Moses did it, and you walked across on dry ground, and then Joshua comes along and says, when your feet hit the water's gonna back up, and you start walking into the water because you got faith in Joshua, and you got faith in God, and then you look around and you're like, nothing's happening. It's not that it said 3 to 5 minutes, which, by the way, 3 minutes can be a long time. Said 3 minutes is not a long time. That means you've never stood in front of a microwave or you've never held your breath. 3 minutes can take a second. But this wasn't even 3 minutes, which, by the way, the guy at the back of the line might not have thought 3 minutes took that long. But what about the people holding the Ark of the Covenant out in the middle of the Jordan? But this wasn't 3 to 5 minutes. This was 3 to 5 hours that it would have taken that water to make its way downstream. So they step into the water and nothing happens. Nothing. They don't see anything. And you know what people do, because we're people. I knew we shouldn't have trusted Joshua. He didn't even have that stick. Maybe God was angry at us. Maybe he's gonna bring us out into the middle of this Jordan River just so we can drown. That's how people are. That's exactly what it is that people were saying. They're probably wondering whether Joshua was a terrible leader. But instead, what they should have been able to see, if they would have remembered that God was faithful, was that sometimes the birthplace of a miracle can start in a place that you just do not yet see. It could be that thing that you've been praying for years, the miracle is already in motion. You just can't see it yet with your own eyes. It could be that spouse that you've been praying for, or that son or that daughter that you've been praying for, or that family member that you've been praying for, or that mom or that dad that you've been praying for, or that family member that you've been praying for, or for the breakthrough that you've been praying for. It could be that it's getting ready to happen. It's just that you can't see it yet because it's happening upstream. I've heard it said before that a lot of people, they don't see the miracle because they quit 5 minutes before the breakthrough was getting ready to happen. So they wade out into the water. You know, people were like, let's just wait. Let's wait. Let's wait until the water, let's wait until it's dry. Let's wait until the ground is dry. You ever thought this before? I know I did for a minute. Not a long minute, but I've done it before. I'm like, you ever said, I'm not gonna get married until I have all my ducks in a row, till everything is perfect. Guess what? You ain't never getting married. Or kids especially. I'm not gonna have any children until I've got all my finances figured out, till I know every detail, till I know what all is gonna happen. I mean, good luck with that. And then right when you think you got it all figured out, that joker shows up. Changes the game, ladies and gentlemen. Am I right or am I right? If we would have waited for all the details for everything that we've been a part of, this church wouldn't even exist. I'd still be living in God-forsaken Millington. It's not, I'm sure it's great now, but it was rough back then. Stop waiting and start waiting, is what God's saying. Sometimes you got to stop waiting, and you just got to start wading out into the water, even if it's unknown. Even if you don't know how it's gonna play out, even if you don't know how it's gonna go, even if you don't know what the outcome's gonna be, even if the outcome's not what you expected, even if God works differently than the way that you would have wanted him to, no matter what, God's way really is better and his plan really is better. And if we will trust him because we remember that he is faithful, we can know that no matter what the outcome may be, God's plan is better than our plan. And we can trust him because he's God and because he's good and because he's faithful and because he never changes. He's the same yesterday, today, and forever. And sometimes the greatest indicator of what God can do in the future is what it is that he's already done in the past. Don't let the fear of how keep you from the obedience of what. It's something I had to get to know, and I had to start to learn, and I have to apply. And now at this point in my life, it's something I have to remember. Don't let the fear of how keep you from the obedience of what. The bottom line is that if God led you to it, he will walk you through it. No matter what it is that you find yourself dealing with, no matter what it is that you are going through, God may have already met the need long before you see it with your eyes. God may have already answered the prayer. It just hasn't made its way downstream yet, is what we learn when we read passages like this. The breakthrough that you've been praying for. For some of you, listen to me. The breakthrough you've been praying for some of you, it's already been answered. It's on the way. It's on the way. It's on the way. Say, when's it gonna get here? I don't know. It depends on how far upstream it was. It could be 3 minutes, it could be 3 hours, it could be 3 weeks, it could be 3 months, it could be 3 years. Honestly, there's certain things that might be 3 decades away. Don't stop. Keep walking. Keep doing what God told you to do. Don't quit. You've been praying for your kid? Don't quit. You praying for your spouse? Don't quit. Praying for your city? Don't quit. When you drive down the gateway to Alatuna, you pray and ask God for breakthrough. You pray and ask God to do things that the city's never seen before. When you go to the family gathering, you know how every family's got at least one, right? You're like, my family doesn't. That's because you might be the one. Like if one didn't come to your mind, you came to mind of everybody else. Keep praying. Keep believing. Keep hoping. Keep your hopes up. You know how people say, don't get your hopes up? Forget that. With God, get your hopes up. Because he's faithful and he's good. And if it's not good, he's not done. But miracles require movement. You can't just stand there. You got to walk. And the water below that point, it flowed onto the Dead Sea until the riverbed was what? Dry. Then all the people crossed over near the town of Jericho. It's time to stop waiting and start waiting. I don't know what it is for you. I bet there's something though. What's that thing you've been waiting on? You know God's been speaking to you about it. God's been telling you to do it. And you haven't done it because you're nervous, because you're scared, because you don't know the outcome. Because we're people. This is what we do. Start walking. Start believing. Start believing that God has a plan. And he knows what he's doing. This building that we're building, we don't have all the answers for every single thing. We've done all the due diligence. We know all the stuff. We've done everything that we could possibly do. But ultimately, we say, God, this is yours. This isn't the end, by the way. I've been trying to be real careful to make sure you know this, because I believe it with every fiber of my being. This is our new temporary facility that will serve as a launching pad for everything that God still desires to do. We are not done. We are just getting started. We're just getting started. You're here at a good time. You're here at a good time, because we haven't seen anything yet. I take it back. I accidentally just lied. You ever said something before and God convicts you? Like in the spot. I just said we haven't seen anything yet. That's a lie. We have seen a lot. Since we've been in this building, 10,300 people have said yes to Jesus. So I'm backtracking. Because I ain't saying we ain't seen nothing yet, because I'm telling you, that's something. 3,000 something people have been baptized. That's something. The greatest indicator of what God can do in the future is his faithfulness in the past. Stand to your feet all over this room, if you would. I want to ask you this, and I want you to respond. I believe God's been faithful to you, hasn't he? I want to take 5 seconds, and I just want us to give God some praise if he's been faithful to anybody that's in this room. All the times he picked you up, all the times he got you through, all the times he carried you when you saw no other way. God did that. God did that. God did that. Anything good. I blame it on the fumes. I said at the last worship experience, I said, God has been good, and the building is going to be so incredible, you can smell it. It was funnier when I said it before, because it just came out. It's good. You can smell it. It is going to be good. It's already been good. It's going to get gooder. Say, is that a word? It is now. Gooder and gooder and gooder. This is what it's going to be. Dear Lord, I love you. I'm grateful for you. I thank you for every person that's here today. Lord, I pray that you would bless them in every way. God, I pray that you would give us the courage that we need to take the steps that you're asking us to take. Thank you that your word is a lamp unto our feet and a light unto our path. Thank you that you allow us to take steps with you, and that we can trust you all along the way, because you are God and you are good and you are so faithful to us. We do not deserve it, but God, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for what you've done, and thank you for who you are. In Jesus' name we pray.